Welcome to the Back to Me podcast, where we help multicultural incoming freshman women and men manage their entire college experience throughout post-graduation to successfully transition into entrepreneurship and corporate workspaces as new hires.
Back to me. Oh, I turned it around. I'm back to me. I finally figured it out. I'm back to me. So when you think you have nothing, back to me. I go back to me. Yeah, I'm back to me.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Yoli Tamu. Have you ever been misunderstood for simply being outspoken? In the final episode of our Owning Your Strength series, we're joined by director, producer, and LMU MFA candidate, Taja Dominique. Taja shares how she transformed her outspoken spirit into creative projects, mentorship, and by founding her own company, Taja Productions. Raised by artistic parents and supported by powerful mentors, she has used storytelling, film, and activism to not only uplift Oakland artists and youth in her community, but humanize them and their stories. Discover why knowing yourself, planning ahead, and creating with integrity and courage are essential to owning your strength while empowering others in the process. Enjoy. This month has been fantastic. We have been owning our strength, and we have another powerful young lady. She's actually a graduate student. She is a second-year MFA candidate for the School of Film and Television Production, and she's specializing in directing at Loyola Marymount University. Miss Taja Dominique, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm great. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for squeezing us in. I'm sure you're busy. You said it's finals time, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, my goodness. So thank you for being with us. Very excited to have you. We had Quinn Townsend Riley on here with us, and she referred me to you. So I'm excited and thankful for her. And so in this series, we're owning our strength. And when I had a conversation with you, it was very powerful about how you're so committed to your community, particularly your community of color. And I was just very excited to get on this call as a creative and speaking to a creative. This is going to be great. So we always open with our motivations, and you are specializing in directing. So what made you take that path?
Yeah, so I explored various creative outlets throughout my entire life, but I remember my earliest memories start with my childhood and just having a lot of music exposure, artistic exposure from dance, music videos, poetry, just various artistic mediums that early on allowed me to exhibit what I wanted to do as I continued to evolve and grow up. But as far as going into filmmaking and digital media and storytelling, that started in middle school when I took a journalism class. And we had the opportunity to interview students and really just an outlet to tell our stories and thinking of stories and what kind of stories needed to be told, not only within our community, but specifically within our middle school. And I remember I was exposed to iMovie, and I created and edited my first little film or commercial. And then in high school, I took a digital media class, and I actually started high school when Trump was first elected. And around this time, and just throughout my life, I've always been very attentive to advocacy, restorative justice, and just noticing like police brutality and the situations with Oscar Grant and just things like that. So I chose to create my story in high school about police brutality. And the film was entitled Police Blacktality. So it was focused on police brutality on specifically Black people and specifically people in Oakland, California, as Oscar Grant was born and raised in Oakland, California. And when I created that film, to me, it seemed a lot more serious than just a school project. And I think I was one of the students who took it very serious from the start of making it to storyboarding, interviewing, gathering stock footage. I remember our screening, and all these things felt very inspiring, very important to me. But at this time, I didn't know that I was able to pursue this as a career, or that I can pursue this in my undergraduate studies. And then once I learned that it was something that I can do, I went into college straight out of high school during COVID, and I majored in film studies. And because it was during COVID, all my classes took place online. So I do think that I didn't have the access to production the way that I wanted to or the way that I envisioned. And I started to explore how can I get that experience on my own. So I started my production company, Inspired by Taja Productions, which is dedicated to honoring and proclaiming a platform for Black artists to be seen and to thrive through a humanized lens and through a restorative and impactful lens that really dives deep into Oakland artists and Oakland creatives and just the beauty of Oakland. I think that Oakland, California can often be portrayed as something very negative, but there's a lot of great artists and a lot of great art, a lot of great stories, just a lot of greatness coming out of Oakland that I feel like is not seen in the way that I would like for it to be seen. So for the remainder of my undergraduate studies, I created short films. I hosted local events for my community and local artists to perform and just get recognized. I also held a mentorship at the East Oakland Youth Development Center from age 15 until I became a full-time staff up until I was 23 years old. So I offered a lot of youth mentorship, which allowed a lot of students to learn that they were also interested into filmmaking. And I think all of these experiences kind of honed on my ability to see that being a director isn't just about storytelling or creating films. I learned that my role as a director also can offer mentorship and it can inspire the youth. And I can tell stories that humanize my community and that restores my community. And I just continued on that path and created my own journeys and created that safe space and that home for myself. And then because I was able to have the passion and the dedication to create that space for myself, I had enough on my portfolio to go into grad school. And although I did get very minimal production experience in undergrad, and no shade to my undergraduate program, it was because of COVID, but without me searching for my own experiences and my own production experiences and building that network and film community outside of school, I wouldn't have been able to develop my portfolio to apply to grad school. So at the time, it felt very discouraging to start school during COVID, but I definitely think it was a blessing in disguise. And knowing that I can define myself as a director before somebody else could allowed me to have that autonomy and that agency for myself. And now I just continue in grad school and I'm continuing to direct and now producing. So, yeah.
You are a powerful lady. My goodness.
Thank
You
you.
said so much. Okay, so let's go back. Let's backtrack. So you're from Oakland, which is the richest culture I know in California.
Yes.
Okay. That's the foundation of the Panthers, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, come on. So you're from Oakland, so you already had that cultural. And I think you told me your parents were artistic. They had artistic backgrounds as well.
Yes. So my mother is flushed into visual art and dance, and my father into spoken word poetry.
Okay, so this activism was sort of already in you
Yes.
as a young person. Wow, because you're so take charge. You make a decision or you have an idea and you move on it. And it has to come from the support that you already had. Yes?
Yes, 100%.
Fantastic. So that's what was blowing my mind, just the things that you've accomplished at such a young age. Okay. I'm sitting here like, she has a production company. And that during COVID, you decided to start it. That's just amazing. And then, like you said, you went after your own network so that you could have your own project for graduate school.
Yes.
Amazing. Everybody doesn't think on those terms, you know, that far ahead. So congratulations to you for even doing that.
Thank you.
You know, and then just thinking about your community and how you wanted to highlight them based on something that you saw happening, you know, in the community. Fantastic. So now when we think about you as a film student and that you want to just highlight those that are excluded is what you told me, you know, when it comes to the community, people that are not talked about as often. Can you expand on that a little bit when you say the ones that are excluded? What do you mean?
So this kind of goes into my inner child. As a child, I was very outspoken. Some would have labeled me bad, but my parents will always be like, she's not bad, she's busy. But I was very outspoken and I was always advocating for myself. And a lot of times it wasn't received correctly, and also, for full transparency, did not deliver it in the best way at times. And it took me a while to learn how to have a balance between advocating for myself, being outspoken, misbehaving, but still being respectful and still being intentional with the words I'm using and how I'm speaking to people. When I had a hard time trying to find that balance, I definitely became very silent because I felt misunderstood. And I don't think I lost many opportunities because of my behavior, because I think I caught it in time. But I definitely did lose opportunities in elementary school and middle school because of my outspokenness. And again, I wouldn't say that my outspokenness was a problem, but it was really just about channeling it in the right way. And it took me a while to learn that skill, and specifically working at the East Oakland Youth Development Center and being there for the time that I was there. I think going into that program around 15 years old was around the time where I was going through a lot at home. And that space allowed me, because I also have a background with dance, so I was a dance instructor there. And I guess being in that space, there were a lot of other kids who were also feeling misunderstood and who also had things going on at home and who also had artistic attributes and stuff, but we didn't feel very understood in school. But at the youth center, we all had each other. And honestly, majority of my connections that I uphold now are through that program. And as I continued through that program as an adult, there are obviously more kids coming in, and kids who were my students when I was in high school, and now I'm an adult and now they're in middle school and high school. And I realized there's a lot of us who can be perceived in a specific way that before we even get to express ourselves or before we even get to show what we have and how artistic we are, because we look a certain way or because we come from a certain background, people deny us opportunities. And because of that, as I'm evolving, and granted, fortunately, my parents are autistic and they always encourage my sisters and I to pursue our art. So I didn't have a hard time pursuing my art after graduating and throughout the duration of my life. But when I found the power of my voice and I realized how I can use my outspokenness to begin to tell stories, I started reaching out to those people in my youth program who were around my age but didn't have the support to pursue their art. So when I would do my short films or I would do my events or just anything where I feel like I can bring my community together, I will always reach out to those who I grew up with first, because I knew that they had it, but they just didn't have the support to encourage them to show it to the world. And specifically when I moved to LA, I don't think that I began to disconnect myself from Oakland, but I seen how quickly it can happen if you're not conscious of it. And when I moved out here for graduate school, I have developed connections in my graduate program. But at the same time, that's not where I come from. And not to say I owe it to my hometown to give them opportunities and things like that. But I think that there's so much happening back home, and I wouldn't want to neglect everything that can be utilized back home and all my community back home who I know they have it and I know that their art is important. So I really value going back home and staying connected with them. And my most recent film, I shot it out there just because I just think it's important to stay close to what feels like home and who started with you and who always seen you and supported you.
It helps you stay grounded, right?
Yeah, and I definitely think it helps me stay grounded and inspired, and just being a voice for those who feel misunderstood or who feel like they don't have it, but being that voice and that encouragement to remind them that they do have it and that you have to go after it. And I think me using my platform of filmmaking, I can have hands in dance and art and mentorship and so many different things. And I think by utilizing storytelling, I can pull those people out of that darkness and show them the light and that they can essentially do whatever they put their mind to. And I want to be the person to see them, because I once upon a time felt like I was not seen.
Such powerful stuff, because when we think about who's on this podcast and who's listening, it's that incoming college freshman, dealing with all the anxiety of a new environment, and that post-grad heading out, you still deal with anxiety in new spaces.
You do.
So for you to talk about being outspoken, I mean, somebody helped you harness it. You know what I mean? You were just misguided for a minute, for a hot second.
But
Middle school is that place to just lose yourself.
exactly.
Then find yourself and gather yourself. So who helped you? Were there mentors? Was it just your parents? Who kind of helped you gather yourself together to focus?
That's a great question. And I'm actually creating my thesis film around that. But I was raised around a lot of women. My mother, my grandmother, my aunties, my older sister, my younger sister. I was in a dance team, Heat Dance Studio. So that was the only fully Black studio in Oakland, California at the time. And then the East Oakland Youth Development Center, I had multiple mentors, Miss Selena, Miss Regina. And then in high school, this moment specifically stands out to me because I was still outspoken in high school. And I remember when we were applying for CSUs, and I don't remember what happened, but I got very frustrated. And I had an advisor at the time. Her name was Miss Rayvon. She lets me call her Rayvon now because I graduated. But
now.
right. But Miss Rayvon was my advisor. And I remember throughout my entire life, if a teacher upset me, I was going to go off on them. It was terrible. But I tried it with her. And I remember I was in my mode of about to go off and about to ruin the classroom and do what I typically would do, but she stood right in front of me and she did not move. And to me, being a student who was very outspoken my entire life and never afraid of adults, I was a little taken aback. But I realized, oh, she's not afraid of me.
That's it.
And me being a kid, why do you think an adult is ever afraid of you? But I realized, oh no, she sees me. She sees right through this. And I had her as a mentor, and she's still very close to me. I also see her as like a big sister or something because she's fairly close to my age. But having so many women around me and women in different career fields, artistically, education, professional, restorative, just so many different realms, and being able to adopt all of their skills and all of their guidance and their mentorship, and feeling like I had women in my life who seen me and who encouraged me and were not afraid to tell me the truth, but still embraced me and still never tried to minimize me or anything like that. I think I've always had women in my life that see me. And even when because you come of age and you go through puberty and things like that. So as a young girl, a preteen and a woman, sometimes you do kind of shy away from those women because you know that they're going to encourage you or they're going to know something's going on with you. But I always knew that I could reach out to them. I always knew that they were near me, that they always cared for me. And I think having that mentorship and seeing women thrive and seeing women continue to pursue their aspirations, even if faced with adversity, that allowed me to see I can do this. And I think I've always known that I can do it, but having so many women around me and so many inspiring and impactful women around me just really encouraged me to value the power of women and sisterhood and womanhood and girlhood and things like that.
Very important. So did you say you started to meet these women in high school or was it college?
I would say the women in my life that I value the most, minus the women in my family, I would say high school, yeah. High school and college, yeah.
It's important to hear you say this because for that listener that's an incoming freshman, they need to start paying attention to who is trying to pour into them now.
Yeah.
There's somebody that sees you, sees them. So it's powerful for you to say that. So thank you for giving those tips for people listening, because somebody out there that is not afraid of you.
Right.
And they want to pour into you. So thank you for sharing that. It's very powerful stuff. So we also talked about that post-grad listener and how they're heading out into the world, in the workforce, and becoming that full-fledged adult. I mean, when you're in college, you're that young adult. You still got a little net. But when you graduate, it's on, right? You're an adult.
Yeah.
So as a film student and a director, you talked about, why you're doing this work. But I'm just thinking about that outgoing student as they branch out into adulthood, and they might be thinking about becoming a creative like yourself as a profession. What advice do you have for that listener?
Are you saying somebody coming out of high school or somebody coming out of undergraduate?
Coming out of undergrad, because that's when you're a full-fledged adult, I believe.
Yeah. Well, for me, I was in my junior year when I decided I would apply to grad school. And the reason I decided I wanted to go to grad school was because it kind of just dawned on me like, wait, I have one more year of undergraduate school. What am I going to do after I graduate? What does life look like? Just really weighing out my options. And I started to look up some of my favorite directors. And specifically, I researched Ryan Coogler, as he's also an Oakland native, born and raised. And I was just trying to figure out, like, well, what did he do? Like, what did he do after he graduated? What was his journey? And while I also like to honor and embrace my own journey, I also want to know what people who are in the shoes that I may want to be in eventually, what did they do to get there? And he went to grad school and he went to USC. So USC was on my list as well as UCLA. My college advisor, she was like, you need more than just these two schools. You need to apply to more schools. I only applied to 4, and I applied to USC, UCLA, LMU, and CSULA. I didn't know anything about LMU at the time. And honestly, it was kind of like my dream school was USC. So in my brain, I'm like, I'm going to USC. And then I did not get into USC. I did not get into UCLA, but I did get into LMU and CSULA. And I do remember feeling very defeated when I did not get into USC. In my brain, I'm thinking like, I'm not going to be a director. I'm not going to be a filmmaker. Like, it's over. What am I going to do? I'm like, I don't want to settle for LMU. Like, this is not my dream school. I don't want to go here. But I had, again, mentors who were telling me, like, go to LMU. They chose you. But that wasn't within my vision. That wasn't within what I wanted, but it was what I needed. And I guess I would say before you even get to the point of graduating, I would say definitely plan ahead. And even with like my LMU application, like I created my shot list and my notes on my phone, and I recorded my film right before I submitted the application. Because again, LMU was not on top of my list. So it was kind of just, to me, it was kind of like a whatever thing. But I say that to say that you want to have, as an artist and as a creative, you want to have things on your belt. And you don't want to wait for somebody to tell you that you're a dancer, that you're a singer, that you're a performer, that you're a filmmaker, because nobody's going to tell you that until you believe that in yourself. And once you believe that in yourself, that's when you start creating. And that's when you're constantly putting your work out there. And fortunately, but also unfortunately, we do have social media, and there's definitely pros and cons to using it. But I think it is a tool, and using it in a way that works for you. Me personally, I am not a big social media person, but I found a way for it to work for me. Even if it's not, because I'm not big on posting content and things like that, or creating these small short films. And sometimes I do wish that that was something I was interested in, but that's personally just not my creative journey, and that's okay. And when you're creative, sometimes you can fall down the rabbit hole of seeing other creatives and they're excelling. Why am I not excelling? I feel like I'm just as good as them, but why do they get to have the opportunity and I don't? And you really just have to trust your own journey, and you really just have to keep creating, building networks, going to events, going to grad school. I do think that grad school has definitely began to prepare me for the real world, and it given me a lot of agency and a lot of affirmation and security on what I want after graduation. Because I think if I didn't go into grad school, it would have worked out when it was supposed to. But I just think, why not? I had the opportunity, and I definitely think it was a good opportunity that I took. But overall, I would just say, as an artist coming out of undergraduate school, because as an artist, I can mostly speak to artists: create, share your work, don't compare yourself, stay true to your story, stay true, stay authentic to what you know and what feels emotionally connected to you, and build networks, meet people, gain mentors, and just try to flesh yourself into that world the best way as possible. And things will definitely work out.
So good. Because when you were talking, I was thinking about, even at the top of this, how you just knew to create your own network, create your own project, that it's important for this listener to, as you said, create these projects. You're not waiting for a professor to say there's an assignment due. You're already creating these things because this is what you love to do. So it's got to be passion filled, and then you will attract, at least in my experience, I felt that you will attract who you need, the mentors,
Right.
the professionals, the support, So thank you for sharing that they need to always be creative, always be in the work, don't wait for somebody to tell you to start doing it. That's
Right.
fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so now we're thinking about final words of encouragement. This was so powerful. Thinking about for our students, and we're owning our strength here. I mean, there's no greater place to own your strength than being creative. It's like our form of therapy to a certain degree,
Yeah.
So what would be some encouraging words to help our listeners own their strength, whatever that is, to tap into it?
Oh, let me think. I own my strength by being okay with being content with the way that things work out when I know I've done everything in my capacity within every single individual moment. And I really just say, as long as you stay a genuine, authentic, and good person, you're definitely going to have some bump in the roads. You're definitely going to be impacted by different situations and meeting and unmeeting people. But in the midst of all the chaos and all the change and all the stress, you have to stay true to yourself. And it's your first time here. It's all of our first time here. We only get one life. We're literally nobody has it all figured out, and we're all learning and growing within every single day, within every single moment. And again, it's your first time here. So it's not a valid expectation for you to think that you're supposed to have it all figured out. And especially coming straight out of undergraduate, you're barely an adult. And me in my second year of graduate school, I feel like I'm just now becoming an adult. And I think within the time period that we're in and having social media and people at so many different levels, it can be hard to own your strength when you're seeing people the same age as you and up here and you feel like you're down here. But yeah, I would just say stay true to yourself, have faith, trust in the trajectory of your own journey, and be a good person.
Oh,
Be an honest person,
yeah.
navigate with integrity, not only externally, but internally. And don't be afraid to face yourself and allow yourself to feel everything and remain open and always remain teachable.
Such
And
wisdom. Wisdom.
yeah, that's how I own my strength. And that's how I would encourage others to own their strength as well.
So powerful. Thank you for this. This was
Can I also add, being vulnerable and being weak is also a strength. And that's part of facing yourself. So being okay with the moments when you're not as strong. I think being okay with being weak is also a form of strength.
Yes, being vulnerable is beautiful. That's the most authentic place you can be. Ooh, so good. Look at you over here preaching to the people now. Okay. This is fantastic. I mean, you are a walking example of everything that you just spoke on. And
Thank you.
yes, it's been an honor to meet you. And I look forward to continuously speaking with you because you're a powerful young lady. So now,
Thank
if they
you.
want to see some of your work, where do you want to send them online to go check you out?
Yeah, so my production company, I have a website, InspiredbyTaja Productions, and on social media, Taja Nirel, and then contacting me, tajanirel@gmail.com, and LinkedIn, Taja Dominique.
Fantastic. So for listeners that want some inspiration, go check out her site.
Yes.
Email her to get some direction because you are now a mentor, ma'am.
I am.
I love it. So thank you for your time. This was great. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you as well.
Oh, thank you. All right. We'll talk real soon. You take care.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good rest of your evening.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us. So if you've ever been told that you're too outspoken, reclaim your voice and find your community because great things are on the horizon for you. For more information about other episodes, remember to subscribe to the Back to Me podcast, College and Beyond. I'm your host, Yoli Tamu. Leave a review at the end of this podcast. And if you would like to learn more about other special events, join our community on our YouTube channel at the Back to Me podcast, or simply text Back to Me to 833-206-4565. Until next time, be well.